think that's time, so I'll hand over to Marius to do a bit of Q&A from anyone else got any questions.
So I want to start with a question.
So I would like to ask you, how did you come from avoidant to more secure? Because I just recently experienced someone who, it was great, we were on the grade level, and basically when it started to be too close, I started to feel a lot of avoidance from him. So how is it possible to work through that?
Yeah, I got that for you. I just finished a 12-week program with men to help them do exactly this. So the first step is really important is to you can literally do some spreadsheet, but look at when your avoidant tendencies start to happen. When do you break connection? You know, it's like, oh, he tries to kiss me in public, or I lean away. It can be that subtle. So like you want to kind of have a list of these different ways. And look at the emotion that comes up in those moments. Is it fear? Is it worry? Is it anxiety? What's the story that goes along with that as well? There's a story in the mind about, oh, other people see, there'll be some judgment and so forth. And then look at how do you want to respond? Who do you want to be, and what does that person's response look like? And then there's an emotional piece usually for avoidant people, which is leaning into their own emotions. So that can be being able to describe what we're feeling, you know, in the moment from a point of view of sensations, but also from having the language. We really don't have the language often to describe our emotions. That's a really important thing. So it's like leaning into the emotional aspects of life and relationships. And then some of this is in normal life, you can just lean into moments of vulnerability. Like there's moments you know you could share more of who you are. There's moments when you could tell a friend that you really missed them or so forth. And it's starting to lean into those things more and more. Because it's like an expansion. The more you do it in a safe and controlled way, I say controlled and safe way, but the more you'll be able to do it, it kind of just grows. So it's really taking responsibility for those moments. And if it happens and you don't act the way you want, and you can go and clean that up with somebody, right, and go, hey, actually, you told me that you loved me, and I stood there really still and weird. You can go back and go, hey, but actually, I really love you too. Often we have another chance at things, and we can take it.
Okay, I guess it's me next. I just want to say thanks for the talk. I'm not actually familiar with both of you, but like I can really see you've got like such a beautiful energy playing with each other, so like thanks. My question is in a slightly different direction. Instead of new love, my question is about retreading familiar territory, retreading something with someone you've had a relationship before, an ex. To add a little bit of context, we were together for quite a while. We had a period of no contact, and we have now reconnected and are exploring things. Are there things I should be like looking out for during this process to see if this is something I should like keep up with, or to say goodbye?
The first thing we want to get clear on is, why did you break up in the first place? What challenges was really present, and what has changed?
Did you want me to answer?
No, well, you can if you want to. But come sooner or later. So that, because I have personal experience with this, but I also have clients who want to move forward, but so freaking scared, so they actually cling on to past relationship. And then instead of acknowledging what didn't work, they look at it through rose-tinted glasses, which is a very short-term solution. Well, it's not a solution at all, it's wasting time. But so what you just want to get very clear on is like, okay, just having that conversation about like, okay, we are now reconnected. Let's, talk about the things that we couldn't agree on, or the main challenges, and like what's different. How have I grown? How have you grown? And because if you choose to reconnect, we should also recommit. Okay, well, what is my commitment to myself? Because we must always ask, what is my role to play in whatever not wanted end result that we want? But also like, okay, as we're reconnecting and recommitting, what am I willing to do different? What are you willing to do different? And how, as an entity, are we committing to doing things differently? So that we can just have a really honest conversation about what didn't work out in the first place.
Can I just add one thing? and being like, there's a willingness. Like, are you willing to be there and support them through the stuff that may have come up before that you didn't like in the relationship? And are you willing to support them and support each other in that? Not just kind of go, this is your work, you go do it, because that's really shitty. It's like supporting each other through what, and then what, also, if the thing that came up before that caused you to break up comes up again, how do the two of you want to deal with it? If it's something that's a persistent thing, how do the two of you want to deal with it? Because it's really important to have clarity around that.
I have so many questions, but I loved the way you guys expressed and discussed everything. Okay, the one I'm going to choose. I'm a true believer in the way we show up in one area of life projects into other areas. And I consider myself quite secure, but recently I've seen avoidant tendencies within me. And I think it could be a reflection of my relationship with my mum. And I feel like if I'm able to heal that, then maybe I will, be more secure again. But I'm just not sure if that is advice or if that's something that you do with your clients as well.
Yeah, so if it's, because our relationship with our mother is just our relationship to the feminine, our relationship to women. It's our first experience of women. So there's that piece there about your relationship with your mother, and for me, actually cultivating a good relationship with my mother really helped me, and just more compassion really for me was. But also it's like, how do you view women? How do you view relationships? Like, what's the story to is about relationships, and start looking at that and finding and seeing evidence that kind of counteracts that. Because if it's that relationships are dangerous or they're a trap, it's like, okay, who do I know that have beautiful relationships where they have freedom? How could I create freedom in a relationship? That's a really wild question, but you can. So it's using what you have to kind of counteract it and see the relationship with your mother as a kind of relationship to the feminine, because that's often, and even if it's, you don't date women, it's like the feminine is like anything, the kind of feminine energy that exists in the world.
What would you recommend for someone who's trying to be more authentic to kind of get that out? Is it more about just taking action? Because when it comes to me, I feel like one thing about being authentic is that I live a very peculiar life, as in the things I do are very unique, to say the least. Like, I don't eat carbs, I'm Christian. If I did find someone, I'd probably want to wait until marriage. Like, a lot of things that I feel like are against what society kind of has nowadays. So, but should I just be being authentic and trying to find that person that's probably somewhere out there, or and if I do that, is there a specific place I should be looking or a specific approach I should be taking?
I think one of the best ways to start authenticity is like, what are you feeling right now? It's not a question for you right now, but like generally, like, what's going on for you right now? Express it. That's authentic. Like I said to you, I'm nervous as fuck seeing him, I was being and all sorts. That's just my part of my authenticity. That's what my experience is right now. Like, share the right now. In terms of, your preferences for the sort of person, me, then it's clear that, a lot of people, that's outside of what they want, and that's cool. Like, my family's Christian, my sister also is getting married. Lovely story, actually, but I'll tell that later on. So yeah, you're going to be in spaces where there's Christian people. There's retreats, man. There's like Christian retreats, there's festivals, there is like all sorts. Like, my parents are Jamaican, so like church is a big thing in families. So it's like, to me, Christian people are fucking everywhere. So, and it's like, looking at that, you have a story that, no women are going to want to be with me if I want to wait until after marriage. Is that true? Like, how true is that? Investigate it, go to some Christian bits and pieces and really test it out. Like, because you might be surprised. You don't need to find 500, 2,000 women, you just need to meet one.
Thank you.
Thank you both for a really great talk. And this year's been quite a sort of shift for me on a personal and professional level. And I just came out of a relationship about 2 months ago. Someone I met online. and I feel that I've still got, this is probably in a dialogue that I'm telling myself I've got a lot of work to do. There are things that are coming up that I kind of recognise. But where do you sort of stop with the sort of self-development? And I think there's this tendency to think, well, I have to be this person in order to attract this other person into my life. So perhaps maybe it's a form of avoidance, but I'm sort of in the process of setting up a new career, and I feel like how can I kind of attract, the other element of my life as well into my life, basically, rather than just focusing on this sort of new business venture, and rather than getting lost in, sort of self-development and sort of disappearing up my backside, basically.
Yeah. So A is to unapologetically own who you are and where you are in your life. So when it was someone I used to work with, she said that she had seen more people on dating apps who was like only only dating people who like know what they want in life and got the shit together, basically. And I was like, what the fuck does that even mean? And because it means different to different people. But for example, when we met, I had invested all my money into my first company, and I was like sofa surfing. But instead of, and I had like a budget of £40 a week. It was like, I love Lidl anyway. But like, it was like literally like I had such a lean budget, I could have made that mean, because especially coming from this big corporate career, I could have made that mean. I could have judged myself and then assumed that other people were judging me. But because I unapologetically owned it, and I was like, oh, I just said to people when I went on dates, I was like, I'm on an entrepreneurial budget. They're like, what's that? I was like, that means that I've like pumped all my money into this company, and I'm just like doing this super lean, and I'm like super excited, and I'm like sofa surfing, which means that I can catch up with friends, and I did it for like a year. So it's again, I really, really believe in the unapologetic owning of self, and it's also like it starts with the decision. You get to be ready now. You are ready whenever you decide to. It's very easy to, as I mentioned in the self-development work, like when I'm taking this course, when I read this, like when we did plant medicine in Madeira a few years ago, me and another guy there, we were kind of joking. He was like, so you're ready to go and do your thing? I was like, I'm ready. He was like, are you going to take another course? Are you going to read another book? Surely it's another podcast. I was like, no, I'm ready. Like, I'm ready. And it's like, I really believe in growth, absolutely. But it's you get to be ready whenever you decide to, because otherwise we can look at like, oh, I didn't even know I was anxious attached until I met David, because I just was playing it easy breezy in dating, so I'm never in touch with my own vulnerability, because some people it's like, oh, we must be healed in order to start dating, but like I really don't believe that awareness is great. But owning who you are and where you are unapologetically, because that will draw the right person for you towards you. And just like if you decide that you are ready, you're ready. Who is to debate with that, And the people, your people will be like, yeah, damn, like this woman, she's amazing. You're like, right? That's all you need to know.
Just remember, we are wounded in relationship and we heal in relationship.
Yeah.
It might not be a romantic relationship, but in relationship with others.
Perfect. Last one. I think, you've had it under quite a bit, so.
So a little bit more outside of just one-on-one. When you want to change your behavior, you need to kind of create an environment where you can't fail, right? We all know that.
Mm.
How do you see the importance of other people in this person's life? You get to know them, their family, their friends. How would you advise people to act? I have an opinion on this, but I would love just to hear your advice to people. How do you look at the wider context of the person you've just met?
So what I'm hearing is, I just want to get clear on this. You've met someone, you're dating someone, and you're looking at the people in their life, and you're like, those people are a bit dubious. To help you become the person that you say you want to be. Is that not you, but the person you're dating?
No, so more like an expression of, I'm trying to get a sense of who is this person.
Mm-hmm.
Is it helpful to look at their family, their friends, and so on, and how much should you look at that?
Oh, yeah, well, yes, family is a difficult one, right? Because we don't choose our family. We don't choose them, We are born spirit, and spirit gives us our family. I think someone's friends and the company they keep is important. But I also think it's to look at not just with your opinion of the company and why they keep it. Because sometimes, and I especially see this in men can be incredibly loyal to their friends they've had for like 20, 30 years. So they sometimes have friends and you're like, fam, why do you speak to that guy? Like, and he'll say, but this guy's always been there for me. Whenever I've needed something, to support me and blah, blah, blah. So it's like, oh, there's a loyalty piece. He's got a person in his life who's deeply loyal. But I think I also believe that we have to be really mindful with the sort of people we keep company with, because they are some level of a reflection of our consciousness and where our consciousness is at and where it has been as well. I'm definitely somebody who over the years I've let friends go because I'm just like, where I'm at now in my life, the level of conversation we can have is very small. Or I've got some friends and we hang out and really our conversation is very narrow. Like, they wouldn't want to hear what I've got to say here because they just can't hear it. And that's cool. And we'll talk about football and life and their wives and how their work's going. So it's just like looking at the kind of context and seeing if the behavior of those people in their life is actually reflected in the person that you've met. Because sometimes some of the behaviors you're seeing aren't necessarily in that person because they can see themselves that they don't want that behavior, but maybe some of it does leak through and is an expression. So I think it's something to be mindful of. Like the company you keep speaks about who you are.